Sentinels have been one of the most clouded orgs in Valorant for a while now. Their social media game is world class. They have one of the biggest Valorant content creators signed, the sport's first golden boy, and multiple trophies to boot as well. Their success also means taking down many others in the process. And in today's video, we'll talk about the many victims of Sentinels' Valorant success. The people whose legacies were briefly or even permanently halted in the scene because of this Rob Moore owned company. Originally, I wanted to talk about the most popular team Sentinels took down, but I started to notice a pattern among some of them, since these orgs came from the same region, the Pacific one. A Valorant league who has yet to win an official global tier 1 title in Valorant. Yep, after 3 years and 10 tournaments, the best they can show for is multiple 3rd and 2nd place finishes. I'm not saying Sentinels are the main reason for this fact, but their presence is still tied to this dreadful feat. When including both Riot and non-Riot funded tournaments, Sentinels have played Pacific teams a total of 9 times and only lost to them once. Yeah, you heard that right. They are 8-1 against the APAC region, with their only loss coming at the hands of Gen.G at Masters Madrid. They faced this org in the past too, but that was when the company was sporting an NA roster, so I didn't include them in the stats. Sentinels' record against the APAC region is pretty impressive and I think deserves a nickname like LeBronto, which is a title that describes LeBron's onslaught on the Raptors. I was thinking something like Send Pack or Send Pack Them Home.
Oh brother, this guy stinks!
Okay, I'm working on it. If you have a better nickname for this record, let me know down below. Overall, these are the teams that have been beaten by Sentinels and denied the opportunity to lift a trophy because of it. First, let's talk about NewTurn at Masters Reykjavik, Korea's powerhouse team who swept the likes of Vision Strikers, who were pretty much DRX before partnership, as well as Damwon Gaming that had Texture on their team. NewTurn had a lot of familiar faces as well, like Lakia, Suggest, and Solo as a player. Yes, Gen.G's current coach was on this team fragging out on stage and was doing a pretty decent job too. And before meeting against Sentinels, they beat version 1 in 2 very close maps. The likes of zellsis, Penny, and Vanity firsthand got to experience how it felt to go against this insane pace that this Pacific Titan had. However, Sentinels was pretty much a different story. Basically a massacre. They lost 13-5 on Bind and then 13-4 on Haven. You couldn't really blame them either. This version of Sentinels was stacked from top to bottom. Sick, Tenz, Shazam, Dapper, and Zom were a menace for everyone that they faced at Masters Reykjavik. On Haven, both Dapper and Shazam had a 50% headshot rating on attack, while Tenz sported a 459 ACS on the offensive end as well. Sick also boasted a 349 ACS with, wait for it, 265 average damage per round on the defensive end. This is absolutely insane. NewTurn will go on to finish 3rd overall, which would be their best result at an international event. In Masters Berlin, Sentinels will dismantle another Korean team in F4Q twice. We will have to fast forward a bit to 2023 for their next meeting against this specific team, and this time they were invited to the Asian Pacific region to face off against the top 2 teams in that league during 2023. Sentinels will proceed to not drop a single matchup in the process either. This was an off-season tournament, but since at the time many thought this would be Jing's last one before military service, it felt like Paper X really wanted to win this as a send-off to him. It would have been nice to see him finally lift the trophy, but Sentinels had different plans. But hey, these are competitors. There's no such thing as a charity case. If you want to win and lift a trophy, then you have to earn it. The Africa TV Valorant League kind of reinforced this statement made by Jing during Champs earlier in the year.
Any teams that are not in champions that impressed you in scrims? Sentinels. They are so insane for real in scrims. No, the first time we played them, we wrecked them. But then after that, every single time we play them, they wreck us like insane. They actually would. If they played like that in champs, no way anyone win. They were really good for real. I'm not even exaggerating. They were actually insane.
At this point, Sentinels will be 6-0 against the Pacific region. It wasn't until Masters Madrid that this win streak would end. Gen.G's Lakia and Solo were able to get their NewTurn revenge for how they got eliminated in Masters Reykjavik. They did it pretty impressively as well, by destroying NA's last hope on Breeze and stunning everyone by taking Split from them, a map that many thought at the time was their best. Something that Paper X were able to pull off too in the lower bracket finals. However, It seems like Pacific's greatest enemies are the best of fives, because both Paper Rex and Gen G will lose to Sentinels, leaving the region empty-handed once again. This will also give Sentinels an 8-1 record against all Pacific teams. I think at this point, Sentinels' dominance may have a greater impact on Paper Rex than on Gen G. One of the reasons why they ran no duelist comp on Sunset was because they kept losing to the boys in red on that map. And in all honesty, it was a pretty good comp too. Paper Rex went 3-1 on Sunset at Masters Madrid. However, Sentinels may be living in these players' heads rent-free now. They can't beat them in scrims, off-season tournaments, and now official tier 1 events either. Even with Jing being back, they may have a hard time going against them. Gen G looked a lot more impressive against Sentinels though. However, nothing is set in stone. The future has yet to be written, and Pacific could turn the tables on this 8-1 record. Something that another team is hoping to do as well. 100 Thieves. And during the early days of Pro Valorant, it was a legit rivalry. Nashot's crew actually beat Sentinels twice in NA's first strike. This, in my opinion, was part of the golden age for 100 Thieves, where they actually looked like contenders in any tournament. I honestly miss this era of 100 Thieves that had Counter-Strike legend Hiko, as well as other well-known CS vets in Nitro and Steel. Their experience paired well with the likes of younger teammates in Asuna and Dicey at the time. Each had moments that carried this team to success. They were able to beat a Sentinels team that still had Sinatra as a member. This could have been a great rivalry in the making. And they are very similar too. Both orgs have very passionate owners, clouded social media presence, players, and a history of picking up world champions from other teams. You can tell that they want to be winners and they have invested a lot to do so, something that you can't say about every other Valorant team in VCT. However, First Strike would prove to be the first and only time this LA-based org could say that they beat Sentinels twice in a row. In fact, fans of 100 Thieves will have to wait 2 whole years before they could see their team get their revenge in VCT's NA Last Chance tournament for Champs 2022. When including both official and non-official Tier 1 tournaments, Sentinels are 11-3 against them. I know some of you may have seen me make a joke about how Sentinels are G2's father figures, but with a record like this, me saying that Sentinels son 100 Thieves wouldn't be a joke. It would be a fact that I'm sure any DNA test will prove to be true. Some of the most notable times Sentinels beat 100 Thieves were NA's first Masters event, in which Sentinels were able to get 100 points while Nashot's boys had to settle for 20. These numbers will help Sentinels get into Masters Reykjavik, while 100T had to sit at home and watch a different organization lift the trophy. Then Sentinels sent Nashot's crew packing in America's LCQ in 2023, and most recently in kickoffs, where Sentinels eliminated them and denied them the chance to participate in Masters Madrid, where you guessed it, they had to watch them lift another trophy. Honestly, Sentinels beating 100 Thieves and winning an international trophy isn't a cursed fate, it's tradition. I do have to say that 100 Thieves actually look good this season and might be able to make a run in the process. So even though it does feel like a long shot, they could have a good chance at getting their revenge, which is something that the next team I will mention was able to do. Fnatic. These two teams have only met 3 times where Sentinels come out top with a better record. Sentinels were able to sweep Fnatic twice in Masters Reykjavik, going 5-0 on maps. However, each of those games are absolute bangers, each one being decided by 3 or less rounds. But since it was 5 maps in a row, you just have to say that the boys in red were simply better. However, losing in the grand finals subjected EMEA's powerhouse to the first of its kind jinx in Valorant, the second place curse. You see, many teams who come in second place at an international event tend to struggle in their following appearances. Some fail to get back to the top 4 in the next global stage, others it may be their regional play, and few seem to never bounce back. And for Fnatic, it would be a 3-year drought of being grouped twice and failing to make it to the top 4 of any international event. And it seemed like the only way to break this curse is to beat the team that placed it on them, Sentinels. And what better place than Sao Paulo, Brazil, where they got their retribution back in style. These maps were not close at all. They were able to ride this momentum all the way to a first place finish in Brazil and Tokyo, while Sentinels had to sit back and watch from home. One of the rare times where a team successfully bounced back against them. However, Sentinels still have a better record and more tier 1 first place finishes than Fnatic. Only time will tell if one of these teams could improve this record, and I'm not just talking about Fnatic or the Pacific region either. NRG also has a worse record than them in all official tier 1 head-to-head matchups. But however, at least these teams have a chance to redeem themselves. There are some organizations that don't have that opportunity. This section is for the teams where Sentinels brought a shovel for their matchup's grave. The ones that are no longer in tier 1, or completely disbanded altogether, like Newturn, who after their defeat in Masters Reykjavik failed to ever reach the global stage again. Their last high placement was 4th in APAC's Last Chance qualifier. They could have been Pacific's first trophy winners, but cannot be immortalized as winners anymore, like how Ascend are despite not being in Tier 1, a similar story that Accrue experienced in NA. They were actually able to beat Sentinels in their first matchup in open qualifiers, but with 1 spot left and matchup to decide everything, they could not replicate their success. It was legitimately the last spot to move on, where they could have gotten some much needed points for champs. Sentinels still won when it mattered the most. Here we have FaZe Clan, where Sentinels beat them in their own invitational, which is very reminiscent of them walking into Korea and beating the 2 teams of APAC during the Africa tournament. The boys in red also denied them a shot at Masters Reykjavik, as well as winning their first ever regional Masters event in NA too. Basically, Sentinels handicapped FaZe Clan from ever touching the international stage. And I can't lie, the list of victims that Sentinels have acquired is a lot longer too, which is to be expected when you have a couple of runs this early into Valorant. Let me know down below if I miss any teams or people in general. Till then, stay safe and I'll be yapping in the next one.